The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metal city among the stars. Ships from dozens of worlds docked at its ports, their strange shapes showing the variety of life in the galaxy. Inside the main chamber, representatives from 12 different alien species sat in a circle. The air felt heavy with tension. Vextar stood at the center of the room. His crystalline body caught the light and threw rainbow patterns on the walls. As the Zephyrian ambassador, he was used to difficult meetings, but today felt different. Today they were talking about humans. The emergency session will begin, Vextar announced. His voice rang like bells in the quiet chamber. We have received troubling reports from the Outer Rim territories. A low murmur went through the gathered aliens. Some shifted in their seats. Others whispered to their advisors in languages that sounded like music or grinding metal. Ketera of the Peaceful Coalition raised one of her forearms. Her blue skin seemed to glow with worry. What kind of reports, Ambassador Vextar? Military reports, Vextar replied, about the new species that calls itself human, about what they did during the Hegemony Wars. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew about the Hegemony Wars. 3 colonies had been under attack. The Galactic Alliance had been too slow to respond. When help finally arrived, they expected to find ruins and bodies. Instead, they found the colonies saved and the hegemony forces gone. The humans fought alongside our people, said Jextal, the Corvin military advisor. His voice was deep and rough. But their methods were unusual. Unusual. How? Asked Zilnoth of the Ethereal Collective. Her form flickered between solid and transparent as she spoke. Jextal looked uncomfortable. They do not fight like civilized beings. They use crude weapons. They ignore proper military protocol. They seem to enjoy destruction for its own sake. And yet they won, Vexistar pointed out. 3 times they won when our forces could not. The silence stretched longer this time. No one wanted to admit that primitive humans might be better fighters than the advanced civilizations of the galaxy. Earth has applied for membership in the Galactic Alliance, Vextar continued. We cannot ignore their application. But we also cannot ignore these reports. We need to see for ourselves what human military forces are capable of. You want to test them, said Velshar of the Diplomatic Corps. His tone suggested he did not like the idea. We want to understand them, Vextar corrected. We will invite Earth to send a representative military unit. They will demonstrate their capabilities in controlled conditions. Then we will decide if humans can be trusted as allies. The vote was quick and unanimous. Within hours, the message was sent toward Earth at faster than light speed. 3 days later, Admiral Jake Morrison sat in his office on Luna Station, reading the message for the 3rd time. The moon's surface stretched out beyond his window, gray and cratered under Earth's blue light. He had been expecting something like this. Morrison was 57 years old and had spent most of those years in uniform. His hair was gray now, and his face showed the lines that came from making hard decisions. He had fought in the Mars colonial wars, commanded ships in the Belt conflicts, and negotiated peace with the Europa separatists. He understood politics as well as warfare. The message from the Galactic Council was polite but clear. Earth could join the alliance, but first they needed to prove their military was suitable for galactic cooperation. They wanted a demonstration. Unit sent to the Council station. Morrison activated his communications system. Get me Captain Lisa Carter, he said. Carter arrived 20 minutes later. She was 34, tall and lean, with short brown hair and sharp green eyes. She walked with the confident stride of someone who had earned her rank through skill, not politics. Her uniform was perfectly pressed, but Morrison knew she was more comfortable in combat gear. You wanted to see me, Admiral? Carter said, saluting. Crisply. Sit down, Lisa, Morrison said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. We have a problem. Carter sat and waited. She had learned not to interrupt when Morrison was thinking. The Galactic Council wants a demonstration, Morrison said finally. They want to see what human military forces can do. What kind of demonstration? Carter asked. Morrison slid the message across his desk. Carter read it quickly, her expression Not changing. They think we're dangerous, she said when she finished. Are they wrong? Morrison asked. Carter smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. No, sir, they are not wrong. I want you to pick a team, Morrison said. Small unit. 4 people including yourself. Show them what we can do, but do not show them everything. What are the rules of engagement? Carter asked. There are no rules, Morrison said. That is the point. They fight with energy shields and plasma weapons. They coordinate through hive minds and quantum communications. They follow ancient military traditions that value honor over victory. And we fight to win, Carter said. Exactly. Pick your team carefully, Lisa. These aliens have been fighting wars for thousands of years. They think they know everything about combat. Show them they are wrong. But do it in a way that makes them want us as allies, not enemies. Carter stood and saluted again. I'll need Sergeant Danny Rodriguez for demolitions, Lieutenant Amy Walsh for precision shooting, and Corporal Nick Turner for technical support. Morrison nodded. He knew all 3 names. Rodriguez was famous for his creative use of explosives. Walsh had never missed a shot when it mattered. Turner could fix or modify any piece of equipment in the galaxy. When do we leave? Carter asked. Tomorrow, Morrison said. The Council is eager to see us perform. They will get their show, Carter promised. That night, Carter met with her chosen team in the briefing room. Rodriguez was a compact man with quick hands and a quicker smile. He came from the asteroid mining colonies and understood explosives better than anyone in the fleet. Walsh was pale and quiet, with the steady hands of someone who had been shooting since childhood. Turner was the youngest, barely 25, but he had an instinct for technology that seemed almost magical. We are going to make first contact with a dozen alien species, Carter told them. They want to see how humans fight. They expect us to be primitive and crude. Are not we? Rodriguez asked with a grin. Compared to them, yes, Carter admitted. They have energy weapons and force fields. They have ships that can phase in and out of reality. They have computers that think faster than we can blink. So, why do they want to see us fight? Walsh asked quietly. Because they heard about the hegemony wars, Carter said. They heard that humans saved 3 colonies when their advanced technology could not. Turner looked up from the tablet he had been studying. Their technology is impressive, but it is also predictable. Every species fights the same way their ancestors did 1,000 years ago. They never adapt. And we adapt constantly, Carter said. That is our advantage. They will expect us to fight like them, only worse. Instead, we will fight like us. What does that mean? Rodriguez asked. Carter smiled. It means we cheat. It means we improvise. It means we do whatever it takes to complete the mission. They fight for honor and tradition. We fight to go home alive. The briefing continued for another hour. They studied the Council station's layout, reviewed the alien species they would meet, and planned for various scenarios. When they finished, Carter looked at each of her team members. Questions? She asked. Just one, Rodriguez said. Do we tell them the truth about human military doctrine? What truth is that? Carter asked. That this is not even close to our best team, Rodriguez said with another grin. That we left the really dangerous soldiers back on Earth. Carter's smile was cold and sharp. Let's see how they handle us first. There will be time for truth later. The next morning, the UES Defiance launched from Luna Station with 4 humans aboard. Behind them, Earth continued its daily routine, unaware that the fate of their species might depend on how well these 4 soldiers could fight in front of an alien audience. The galaxy was about to learn what human warfare really looked like. The UES Defiance docked at the Council Station after a 3-day journey through hyperspace. Captain Carter looked out the viewport at the massive structure. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, with towers that stretched for kilometers and docking bays that could hold entire fleets. Impressive, said Sergeant Rodriguez, standing beside her. It should be, Carter replied. They have been building it for 3,000 years. Lieutenant Walsh checked her equipment one more time. Her rifle was secured in its case along with enough ammunition for a small war. The Council had assured them that all necessary weapons would be provided for the demonstration. But Walsh never trusted anyone else's equipment. Corporal Turner was already scanning the station's systems with his portable computer. Their technology is advanced, he said, but it follows predictable patterns. Everything is designed for efficiency and elegance. Not for war, Carter observed. Not for the kind of war we fight, Turner agreed. The docking process took an hour. Alien customs officials boarded the Defiance to inspect the human delegation. They were polite but thorough, cataloging every piece of equipment the humans had brought. Carter noticed how they handled the human weapons with obvious distaste. Kinetic projectile systems, one of the officials said to his partner. How primitive. Carter said nothing, but she smiled slightly. Let them think what they wanted. The Council had assigned them quarters in the diplomatic section of the station. The rooms were comfortable but strange, designed for beings with different body shapes and needs. The furniture could reshape itself. The lighting changed colors based on mood sensors, and the food dispensers offered dishes from dozens of worlds. This is luxury, Rodriguez said, testing a chair that molded itself to his body. I could get used to this. Do not get too comfortable, Carter warned. We are here to work. The demonstration was scheduled for the next day, but first they would observe other species showing their military capabilities. Carter and her team gathered in the observation deck overlooking the main demonstration arena. The arena was enormous, with multiple levels and environments that could be changed instantly. Mountains could rise from the floor, forests could grow in minutes, and urban environments could appear with the touch of a button. Holographic enemies and obstacles could be created anywhere in the space. Welcome, honored guests, announced Vextar from the central platform. Today you will witness the military excellence of our alliance members. The first demonstration came from the Corvan Empire. 20 soldiers in gleaming armor marched into the arena in perfect formation. Their equipment hummed with energy, and their movements were precise as clockwork. The Corvan military represents 2,000 years of military tradition, Vextar explained. Observe their disciplined approach to combat. The arena transformed into a fortified position with walls, towers, and defensive emplacements. Automated turrets began firing plasma bolts at the Corvan soldiers, who responded with textbook precision. They advanced in formation, their energy, shields deflecting incoming fire while they returned shots with their plasma rifles. Impressive coordination, Walsh murmured, watching through binoculars. Too coordinated, Carter replied. Look how they move. Every step is planned in advance. They cannot adapt if something unexpected happens. The Corvan soldiers took 15 minutes to clear the fortification. They did it efficiently and with minimal casualties, but Carter noticed they followed the same tactical patterns that military academies had taught for centuries. The second demonstration came from the Threat Collective. Their soldiers moved like a single organism, communicating through telepathic links that allowed perfect coordination. They flowed through the arena like water, surrounding obstacles and attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. The Threk represent the ultimate in unit cohesion, Vextar announced. Individual thought is sacrificed for collective efficiency. The Threk cleared the same fortification in 12 minutes. Their hive mind allowed them to coordinate attacks that would be impossible for individual soldiers, but Carter noticed they had trouble when communications were disrupted. The third demonstration came from the Axiom Directorate. Their soldiers wore sleek suits that allowed them to phase in and out of reality. They became transparent, walked through walls, and appeared behind enemy positions without warning. The Axiom have mastered quantum warfare, Vextar said proudly. Physical barriers mean nothing to their advanced technology. The Axiom soldiers cleared the fortification in 10 minutes, simply by appearing inside enemy positions and attacking from within. It was an impressive display, but Carter noticed they relied completely on their technology. When their phasing equipment worked, they were nearly unstoppable. But technology could always fail. Each species that demonstrated showed the same pattern. Advanced technology, centuries of tradition, and tactical approaches that had been refined over thousands of years. They were efficient, elegant, and completely predictable. They all fight the same war, Turner observed quietly. just with different tools. Energy weapons, force fields, and technological superiority, Rodriguez added. Very civilized. Very boring, Walsh said. When the last demonstration ended, Vexitar turned toward the human observation deck. And now, he announced, we will observe the military capabilities of the newest applicants to our alliance, the species that calls itself human. Carter stood and walked toward the arena entrance. Her team followed, carrying their equipment in simple black cases. Compared to the gleaming technology of the other species, the humans looked almost primitive. The alien observers whispered among themselves as the humans entered the arena. Carter could hear fragments of conversation in translated languages. So, small, someone said. Their equipment looks ancient, said another voice. Are those chemical projectile weapons? Asked a third. Zilnoth of the Ethereal Collective spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. Kinetic weapons are obsolete technology. Energy weapons are far more efficient and precise. Carter stopped walking and looked up at the observation deck. Ma'am, with respect, efficient is not the same as effective. Is there a difference? Zilnoth asked, her form flickering with what might have been amusement. Yes, ma'am, Carter replied. Efficient weapons kill cleanly. Effective weapons win. Wars. A murmur went through the observers. Some sounded worried. Others sounded curious. What scenario would you prefer for your demonstration? Vexitar asked. Carter looked around the arena. It was currently configured as a neutral space with basic cover and obstacles. This will do, she said. We do not need special environments. But the defensive positions, Vexitar protested. The automated systems, the tactical challenges. Sir, if you want to see what human military forces can do, give us the same scenario you gave everyone else, Carter said. Standard fortified position, automated defenses, multiple objectives. The arena began to transform. Walls rose from the floor, creating a complex of buildings and defensive positions. Automated turrets emerged from hidden panels, their sensors sweeping for targets. Electronic barriers hummed to life, blocking certain approaches. It was the same scenario the other species had faced, but Carter noticed the aliens had made it more difficult. There were more turrets, stronger barriers, and fewer obvious approach routes. They are testing us harder than the others, Rodriguez observed. Good, Carter replied. Let them see what happens when they challenge humans. The alien observers settled into their seats, expecting to see a disappointing performance from the primitive newcomers. Some looked bored. Others seemed sympathetic, as if they felt sorry for the humans who were about to embarrass themselves. Carter checked her weapon one more time. It was a simple assault rifle that fired metal bullets propelled by chemical explosives. Next to the energy weapons of the other species, it looked like a museum piece. Are you ready? Vexitar asked. Carter looked at her team. Rodriguez was grinning as he handled his demolition charges. Walsh was calm and focused, already calculating angles and distances. Turner was studying the arena's systems, looking for weaknesses to exploit. We are ready, Carter said. Begin when prepared, Vexitar announced. Carter raised her rifle and fired a single shot at the nearest automated turret. The bullet punched through its energy shield and destroyed the targeting system in a shower of sparks. The alien observers fell silent. Now they will see, Carter said quietly, what human warfare really looks like. The automated turret exploded in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. The alien observers stared in shock as pieces of advanced technology scattered across the arena floor. The energy shield that was supposed to stop all projectile weapons had failed completely. How did that primitive weapon penetrate our defenses? Whispered Jexdal, the Corvin military advisor. Carter did not wait for the aliens to recover from their surprise. She gestured to her team with quick hand signals. Rodriguez moved to the left, Walsh to the right, and Turner stayed close behind her. They spread out immediately, not moving in the tight formations the other species had used. Scatter formation, observed Vexitar with interest. Most unusual. The automated defense systems activated fully now, recognizing the humans as hostile targets. Plasma bolts began firing from multiple directions, creating deadly crossfire patterns that had stopped the other species from advancing quickly. Energy. Barriers hummed to life, blocking the most direct approaches to the objectives. Rodriguez reached the first wall and did something that made several aliens gasp. Instead of trying to find a door or break through the barrier with weapons, he placed a small explosive charge at the base of the wall. "What is he doing?" asked Ketara of the Peaceful Coalition. "There are proper entrances to use." The charge detonated with a loud bang. The wall cracked and crumbled, creating a hole big enough for a person to walk through. Rodriguez stepped through the gap he had made, completely bypassing the defended entrance that other species had tried to assault. He made his own door, Zilnoth said, her ethereal form flickering with what might have been confusion or amazement. "Humans do not follow the rules," Turner called out as he followed Rodriguez through the new opening. "We make our own rules." The automated defenses were programmed based on thousands of previous military demonstrations. They expected enemies to use established tactics, to follow predictable patterns, to respect the structure of the battlefield. They had no programming for dealing with beings who simply ignored obstacles by destroying them. While Rodriguez was creating new pathways, Walsh found a position that made the alien observers very uncomfortable. Instead of advancing toward the objectives like every other species had done, she climbed onto a piece of debris and lay down flat with her rifle. "Why is she not moving forward?" asked Velshar of the Diplomatic Corps. Walsh began shooting. Her first shot destroyed a turret that was 200 meters away. Her second shot hit another turret that was hidden behind cover, the bullet ricocheting off 2 walls before finding its target. Her third shot disabled a power relay that shut down an entire section of energy barriers. "Impossible," breathed Jexdal. "No soldier shoots with that accuracy while under fire." "Human soldiers do," Carter said calmly, advancing through the area. Walsh had cleared. She fired her rifle in short bursts, each bullet finding its target with deadly precision. Her weapon might look primitive, but it was destroying advanced technology with every shot. The alien observers began to understand something disturbing. The humans were not trying to fight the same battle as everyone else. They were fighting their own battle, using their own rules, and winning in ways that made no logical sense. Turner reached a secured door that had stopped other species for several minutes. Instead of trying to hack the advanced quantum lock or blast through the reinforced materials, he opened a maintenance panel beside the door. "What is that human doing?" Vexitar asked, zooming in the display to get a better view. Turner pulled out simple tools and began working on the wiring behind the panel. Within 30 seconds, the door opened. "He bypassed the security system," one of the technicians reported. "But how?" "Our locks are quantum encrypted with billions of possible combinations." "He did not break the lock," Turner said loudly enough for the observers to hear. "He just turned off the power to the lock. Simple solution." This was the moment when many of the alien observers began to feel genuinely worried. The humans were not just fighting differently. They were thinking differently. Every problem that required advanced technology and careful planning, the humans solved with brutal simplicity. Rodriguez placed another explosive charge, this time bringing down a support beam that caused an entire defensive platform to collapse. The automated systems on that platform crashed to the ground and stopped working entirely. That platform was worth more than most starships, Katara said faintly. "War is expensive," Rodriguez called back cheerfully. "That is why we try to end it quickly." Walsh changed positions, moving to a new spot that gave her angles on targets that should have been impossible to hit. She was not just shooting at enemies. She was shooting at structural supports, power cables, and control systems. Every shot she fired made the defensive network weaker and more confused. "She is destroying infrastructure," Jexdal said with growing alarm. "That is not how civilized warfare works." "We are not civilized," Walsh replied calmly as she lined up another shot. "We are effective." Carter coordinated all of this chaos while doing something that fascinated and terrified the observers in equal measure. She talked constantly to her team, sharing information and changing plans in real time. "Rodriguez, can you bring down that tower on the left?" "Give me 2 minutes, Captain." "Walsh, I need covering fire on the eastern approach." "Already on it." "Turner, what is behind that door?" "Looks like the main control room. Want me to shut everything down?" "Not yet. Wait for my signal." The alien species in the gallery had never seen anything like this. Their military forces followed detailed plans created by high command. Orders flowed down from commanders to soldiers, in careful hierarchies. Changes to tactics required approval from multiple levels of authority, but the humans were making decisions instantly, adapting to new situations without consulting anyone except each other. They fought as a single unit, but each member was thinking independently and contributing to the overall strategy. How do they coordinate so effectively without a command structure? Zilnoth asked. They do have a command structure, Vextar observed. But it is flexible. Each soldier can think and act independently while still following the overall mission. This was perhaps the most unsettling thing about human warfare. The aliens were used to enemies who were either completely coordinated like the Threk hive mind or completely independent like scattered pirates. The humans somehow managed to be both at the same time. The automated defenses were breaking down rapidly. They had been programmed to fight predictable enemies using known tactics, against humans who created their own tactics in the middle of battle. The systems could not adapt fast enough. Rodriguez had created so many new entrances that the defensive positions were no longer defensible. Walsh had destroyed so many key systems that half the automated weapons were offline. Turner had bypassed so many security measures that locked doors were opening randomly throughout the complex, and Carter was leading them all toward the final objectives with a speed that was making the alien observers very nervous. They have been fighting for less than 10 minutes, Vextar announced, checking his chronometer. The fastest previous time was achieved by the Axiom Directorate in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. They are going to beat that record, Jextel said quietly. By a significant margin, added Velshar. The humans reached the final objective, which was a command center protected by the strongest defenses in the scenario. Previous species had taken between 3 and 8 minutes to break through the final barriers. Most had suffered simulated casualties in the process. Rodriguez looked at the heavily defended entrance and grinned. Captain, permission to solve this problem the fun way? Granted, Carter replied. Instead of attacking the command center from the obvious approach, Rodriguez placed charges on the floor directly underneath it. The explosion brought down the entire structure, creating a pile of rubble with the objective clearly visible in the wreckage. Problem solved, Rodriguez announced. The timer showed 11 minutes and 47 seconds. The humans had not only beaten every previous record, they had done it while using tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. But more disturbing than their speed was their attitude. They were not breathing heavily or showing signs of stress. They looked like they could keep fighting for hours. Is that the best you can do? Carter called up to the observation deck. Because we are just getting started. The alien observers sat in stunned silence, finally beginning to understand what they had invited aboard their station. The silence in the observation chamber stretched for long minutes. Below in the arena, the 4 humans stood among the wreckage of what had been an advanced defensive system. Smoke rose from destroyed equipment, and pieces of metal and circuitry littered the ground. Carter looked up at the alien observers. Is that all? She asked. Do you have something more challenging? Several of the alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had watched their most advanced military scenario demolished in less than 12 minutes by beings using what appeared to be primitive weapons and crude tactics. Ket Ara of the Peaceful Coalition was the first to speak. Her 4 arms gestured toward the destruction below. Captain Carter, your methods seem unnecessarily violent. Why did you destroy so much equipment when precision strikes would have been sufficient? Carter tilted her head, considering the question. Ma'am, we destroyed equipment because broken equipment cannot shoot back at us. In human warfare, we prefer enemies who cannot fight. But the waste, protested Zilnoth, her ethereal form flickering with distress. Some of that technology took decades to develop, and it took Sergeant Rodriguez 30 seconds to destroy it, Carter replied. That is the difference between building for elegance and building for war. Jexdal leaned forward in his seat. Your tactics show no honor, no respect for the art of warfare. You fight like barbarians. Rodriguez laughed from below. Sir, barbarians win wars, civilized armies lose them. The comment sent another uncomfortable murmur through the observers. These aliens had spent centuries developing military traditions based on honor, elegance, and technological superiority. The idea that crude, violent tactics might be more effective challenged everything they believed about warfare. Vextar activated the arena's communication system. Captain Carter, we would like to understand your methods better. Can you explain your tactical decisions? Carter nodded. Of course. Walsh, tell them about your shooting positions. Lieutenant Walsh stood up from where she had been cleaning her rifle. Sir, I did not choose positions to advance toward the enemy. I chose positions that made enemy positions impossible to hold. What does that mean? Asked Velshar. It means I shot at things that made the enemies want to leave, then Walsh explained. When I destroyed the power relay for their section, they had no lights and no communications. When I hit the support beam for their platform, they knew the whole structure might collapse. They stopped thinking about fighting and started thinking about surviving. You used fear as a weapon, Vextar observed. Yes, sir, Walsh said simply. Fear is very effective. This admission caused another stir among the observers. Most galactic civilizations considered psychological warfare to be uncivilized if they considered it at all. Their military traditions focused on direct confrontation between armed forces, not on breaking enemy morale. Corporal Turner, Carter called. Explain your approach to their security systems. Turner looked up from the alien device he had been examining. Their security was very advanced but also very complicated. When something is complicated, it has many ways to break. I did not try to break the security. I just found simpler ways to get the same result. You bypassed billion credit security. Systems with simple tools, Jextel said, his voice strained. Yes, sir, Turner replied. Complex solutions create complex problems. Simple solutions just work. He held up the device he had been studying. This is a Corvin plasma rifle, very advanced, very efficient, but see this? He pointed to a small panel on the side. This is the power regulation system. If I remove these two components and reconnect them like this, Turner made quick adjustments with basic tools. When he pulled the trigger, the weapon's output increased dramatically. The resulting energy blast carved a deep groove in the arena floor. You modified our weapon, Jextel said in shock. That is impossible. Our engineers spent years perfecting that design. Your engineers built it to work safely and efficiently, Turner said. I modified it to work dangerously and effectively. Sometimes those are different things. The demonstration was revealing something that made many of the observers deeply uncomfortable. Human military doctrine was not just different from their own. It represented a completely alien way of thinking about conflict. Where the galactic civilization sought to minimize damage and casualties through advanced technology and careful tactics, humans seemed willing to maximize destruction to achieve quick victory. Where aliens valued honor and tradition, humans valued results and survival. Carter gestured for her team to gather around her. You asked to see what human military forces can do, she said to the observers. This is not what we do, this is how we think. Explain, Vextar requested. Every species we observed today fought the same war with different tools, Carter said. You all advanced toward objectives using established tactics. You all respected the structure of the battlefield. You all fought according to rules that someone else created. She pointed to the wreckage around them. Humans do not fight other people's wars. We fight our own war. If the enemy expects us to use doors, we make holes in walls. If they expect us to respect their technology, we break it. If they expect us to follow rules, we ignore the rules and win anyway. Rodriguez walked over to join the conversation. Captain, should I tell them about the psychological impact? Carter nodded. Sirs, Rodriguez called up to the observers. Everything we did here today was designed to break enemy morale as much as enemy equipment. When I brought down that wall, it was not just to create an entrance. It was to show the enemy that their fortifications mean nothing to us. When I destroyed the support beam, he continued, it was not just to eliminate one platform. It was to make every enemy on every other platform wonder if their position was about to collapse too. You fight wars in the minds of your enemies, Vextar said slowly, beginning to understand. Yes, sir, Carter confirmed. Physical destruction is just one tool. Psychological destruction is often more effective. An enemy who is afraid makes mistakes. An enemy who is demoralized gives up. An enemy who believes they cannot win often proves themselves right. The alien observers exchanged glances. This was a level of warfare they had not encountered before. Their military traditions were based on honorable combat between professional soldiers. The idea of deliberately terrorizing enemies into submission was foreign and disturbing. Katara spoke again, her voice carefully controlled. Captain Carter, your methods are effective, but they seem unnecessarily brutal. Surely there are more, civilized ways to resolve conflicts. Carter's expression grew serious. Ma'am, with respect, we did not start the hegemony wars. We did not ask to fight in your conflicts. But when your colonies were under attack and your fleets could not save them, human civilians picked up weapons and won battles that your professional military could not. The colonists were grateful, Velshar said quietly. The colonists were alive, Carter corrected. That is what matters to us. We do not fight wars to make statements about our civilization. We fight wars to protect our people and end threats. Quickly, Turner looked up from another alien device he had been examining. Captain, should I show them what human equipment can really do? Carter considered for a moment, then nodded. Limited demonstration only. Turner activated his personal communicator. Defiance, this is Turner. Request permission to access our equipment locker. Permission granted, came the reply from their ship. Turner pulled out a device that looked simple compared to alien technology. It was black, angular, and showed no obvious sophistication. He pointed it at a large piece of wreckage from the demolished defensive platform. This is a standard human demolition charge, he announced. Not particularly advanced by our standards. He activated the device. The explosion that followed was unlike anything the aliens had seen. It was not the clean, efficient destruction of energy weapons. It was violent, chaotic, and thorough. The wreckage simply ceased to exist, replaced by a crater in the arena floor. The observation chamber fell completely silent. That was a small charge, Turner said conversationally. We brought bigger ones. Carter looked up at the alien faces, staring down at them. Some showed fear. Others showed fascination. All showed a new respect for human capabilities. Honored representatives, Carter said formally. You asked to see what a human army looks like. This is what 4 humans look like when we are being careful and polite. A human army would be considerably less restrained. The implications of that statement hung in the air like smoke from the explosion. The aliens were beginning to understand that they had not just witnessed a military demonstration. They had been given a warning. The council chamber buzzed with heated arguments as representatives from 12 species debated what they had witnessed. The humans had been escorted to waiting quarters while the aliens discussed their fate. The demonstration had ended 2 hours ago, but the arguments showed no signs of stopping. They are too dangerous, Jextal insisted, his deep voice carrying across the chamber. Their methods violate every principle of civilized warfare. We cannot allow such barbarians into our alliance. But they are effective, countered Velshar. 3 colonies are still inhabited because of human intervention. Can we ignore results simply because we dislike their methods? Zilnoth flickered between solid and ethereal forms as she spoke. The humans fight without honor. They destroy property without regard for cost. They use fear as a weapon against their enemies. This is not how Alliance members should conduct themselves. Neither is losing wars, observed Commander Yethka of the Outer Rim territories. My people have fought the hegemony for 5 years. We have lost ground in every engagement. Perhaps it is time to admit that honor does not stop enemy fleets. Ket Ara raised her forearms for attention. The question is not whether humans can fight. The question is whether we can trust them to fight alongside us rather than against us. The debate might have continued for hours, but Vextar activated a privacy screen around his station. Within moments, Admiral Morrison's image appeared in the chamber. Several representatives looked surprised. The human commander had not been invited to speak. "Admiral Morrison," Vextar said carefully. "This is unexpected." Morrison looked tired, but his expression was firm. "Ambassador Vextar, I apologize for interrupting your deliberations, but there is information you need to know. Before you make your decision." "What information?" Vextar asked. Morrison activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. It showed star charts of the Outer Rim territories, with red markers indicating hegemony-controlled systems and blue markers showing Alliance territory. 3 days ago, the hegemony launched a major offensive against the Kepler-438 system, Morrison said. Alliance forces responded according to standard tactical doctrine. They were defeated with heavy casualties. A murmur went through the chamber. Kepler-438 was an important system with several million inhabitants. "The system fell?" Jextal asked. "No," Morrison replied. "It did not fall. Because 12 hours after the Alliance fleet retreated, a human merchant convoy arrived in the system." The holographic display changed, showing the positions of ships around Kepler-438. The human ships were vastly outnumbered by hegemony forces, but Morrison continued his explanation. The convoy consisted of 6 cargo ships, 2 escort frigates, and approximately 200 human civilians. Most were miners, engineers, and traders. None were professional military personnel. "What happened?" Velshar asked quietly. "They won," Morrison said simply. "In 6 hours of fighting, the humans destroyed or captured the entire hegemony fleet. The system is secure, the population is safe, and hegemony expansion in that sector has stopped completely." The chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. Professional Alliance military forces had been defeated by the same enemy that untrained human civilians had destroyed. "How?" Vextar asked. Morrison smiled grimly. "They fought like humans. They used mining explosives as weapons. They turned cargo ships into ramming vessels. They broadcast false surrender signals to get close to enemy ships, then attacked with cutting tools and industrial equipment. That is against every rule of warfare," Zilnoth protested. "Yes," Morrison agreed. "It is also why 2 million people are still alive." The Admiral changed the display to show detailed battle reports. The hegemony commanders were prepared for conventional Alliance tactics, energy weapons, coordinated fleet maneuvers, and honorable ship-to-ship combat. They were not prepared for humans who used their cargo haulers as guided missiles. Commander Yethka leaned forward in his seat. "Admiral Morrison, are you saying that human civilians fight better than our trained military?" "I am saying that human civilians fight differently than your trained military," Morrison corrected. "And sometimes different is what wins wars." Morrison's expression grew more serious. "Honored representatives, the demonstration you witnessed today was 4 humans being polite. What happened at Kepler-438 was 200 humans being desperate. I will let you decide which should concern you more." He paused to let that sink in, then continued. "The hegemony has been expanding for 20 years. Every year they grow stronger, and the Alliance loses more territory. Every year your conventional tactics become less effective against their adaptation." "What are you proposing?" Vexitar asked. "I am not proposing anything," Morrison said. "I am stating facts. Humans are already fighting in your war whether you accept us or not. The question is whether you want us fighting with you or without you." The display changed again, showing projections of future hegemony expansion. "Our analysts believe the hegemony will reach core Alliance systems within 5 years if current trends continue. Your current military doctrine has been unsuccessful in stopping them." "And human military doctrine would be successful?" Jextal asked skeptically. "Human military doctrine ended the expansion at Kepler-438, Morrison replied. "Human military doctrine saved 3 other systems before that. Human military doctrine works because it assumes the enemy will adapt to conventional tactics." Morrison looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each representative. "You have spent thousands of years perfecting the art of civilized warfare. The hegemony spent 50 years learning how to defeat civilized warfare. Perhaps it is time to try something uncivilized." The communication ended, leaving the chamber in thoughtful silence. The representatives had much to consider, and not much time to consider it. 3 hours later, Vextar called for the final vote. Captain Carter and her team were brought back to the chamber to hear the decision. They stood at attention while the votes were cast, each representative announcing their choice. The final tally was 7 votes in favor of human membership, 4 votes against, and 1 abstention. The motion passes, Vextar announced. Earth is accepted as a member of the Galactic Alliance with the following conditions. Carter listened as the terms were read. Human military advisors would be assigned to Alliance fleets. Human tactical doctrine would be studied and incorporated into Alliance training. Human weapons technology would be shared with Alliance research facilities. In return, humans would have access to Alliance medical technology, faster-than-light communications, and advanced defensive systems. Earth would be protected under Alliance mutual defense agreements. Do these terms acceptable to Earth? Vextar asked. Carter nodded. They are acceptable, sir. Then let us proceed to implementation, Vextar said. Admiral Morrison, we will need human military advisors assigned to our fleets immediately. Morrison's image reappeared in the chamber. Already arranged, Ambassador. Captain Carter will remain here to establish the first joint training program. Additional personnel are en route from Earth. How many additional personnel? Jextal asked, nervously. 50,000 to start, Morrison replied casually. We want to make sure every Alliance fleet has adequate human representation. Several alien representatives looked alarmed. 50,000 seems excessive, Katara said. Ma'am, you asked to see what a human army looks like, Morrison reminded her. Now you will see what a human army can do when it is fighting for the same cause as your armies. 2 months later, Lieutenant Walsh stood on the observation deck of the Alliance flagship Concordia, watching human and alien soldiers train together in the ship's combat simulator. The aliens were learning human tactics while the humans learned alien technology. How is the integration proceeding? Asked Commander Yethka, joining her at the viewing port. Better than expected, Walsh replied. Your people are fast learners, and our people are adapting well to energy weapons and force fields. And the hegemony? Yethka asked. Walsh smiled. The hegemony has not advanced a single system since human advisors joined your fleets. They seem to be having trouble adapting to our tactical innovations. Below them, a mixed unit of humans and Corvan soldiers was practicing assault techniques. The Corvan had learned to create diversions while humans flanked enemy positions. The humans had learned to use Corvan energy shields to protect their advance. It is working, Yethka observed. Yes, sir, Walsh agreed. It is working very well. Yarint. The distant space rippled as another human fleet emerged from hyperspace. Earth was sending more ships, more soldiers, and more of the unpredictable tactical thinking that was changing how the galaxy fought its wars. The hegemony expansion had stopped. The Alliance was advancing, and the galaxy was learning that sometimes the most effective weapon against a predictable enemy was an unpredictable ally. Captain Carter, now stationed permanently with Alliance Command, received daily reports from human advisors throughout the galaxy. The integration was proceeding ahead of schedule. Human tactics were being adopted by dozens of species. Alliance victory rates were increasing dramatically. But more importantly, the galaxy was learning that human warfare was not just about winning battles. It was about ending wars quickly so that people could go home safely. The aliens had asked to see what a human army looked like.